All right, so my name is Jennifer Lee, and this is my family genogram. And I'm going to be discussing first the life cycle that my family is in, and we're kind of in a hybrid of the parents with school age children. So this is me, and this is my partner Justin, that I am living with. And we have our daughter, 10-year-old daughter, together that we are raising. And then also, we raised our Jubilee and Joey, who are now much older, and they've left the house. And so we're also kind of in that launching phase as well. And kind of feeling the empty nestedness of that, and what comes along with transitioning to parenting young adults and helping them kind of get started with their life and what all of that entails, while also having our younger daughter still at home and having a school age child. So So overall, my family genogram, I started with my mom and my biological father, Trisha and Lonnie, who gave birth to me, and I'm their only child that they had together. And then my mom remarried, who I actually consider to be my father, named Doug. And then they had my two sisters, Tina and Mariah. And Mariah has my niece and nephew, Elias and Amethyst. And then in my life, over here, you can see that I had, once again, my two oldest, with who I'm calling my baby daddy. We are divorced and haven't been together in a very long time. And then I got together and repartnered with Justin, and we essentially have all three of these kiddos that we parent together. And most recently, a new addition to my genogram is that my 22-year-old daughter has a partner named Malik, and they are expecting my grandson named Everest. So that's a really quick overview of everyone that I included in my genogram. I just included like the people that I consider to be either essential to my genogram and they had to be there, or they're the people that are really important and or the people that are really important in my life. So all the key identifiers here are pretty standard. Straight line for married, dotted line for living together or engaged. So as you can see, my mom and stepdad are married. I think they're the only ones who are actually still married on this genogram. For living together or engaged, that is Jubilee and Malik, and myself and my partner Justin. And then we have a couple of divorce lines here. So that was my mom and dad, and then myself and my baby daddy. And then I marked male and female here. And then moving over into relationship patterns, I wanted to mark in the people that I feel very closely bonded to and have open communication with, and that is my mom and my oldest daughter Jubilee. They're also really essential. I circled them to be really essential part of my support system, and that also includes my stepdad, and now Malik, my son-in-law, and also my partner. I consider them all to be a part of my support system, meaning I know that they really support who I am as a person and me being true to myself, and they support me going back to school, and they are really cheering me on and My mom and Jubilee especially are really, and Justin are very supportive to me in those kind of vulnerable or intensely emotional moments where I'm really needing some extra level of support. For the not speaking, I just put an X, and that is my bio father. I also, just a vulnerable share, my son is choosing right now not to speak to me, but I personally did not want to put that on my genogram, and I think I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I think that type of like self-determination and like really letting the client lead, that occurred to me as being really important. So even if that might be something that's a fact or happening in the family, if that's just not something the client wants to put on their genogram and it's not going to be like useful or helpful in their intervention, and really just like honoring that for them. Contributing to distress and challenges, I wanted to label kind of some relationships in here that can contribute to some extra distress and challenges, and that would be the relationship with my son, the relationship with my baby daddy, and also the relationship with my partner. So another interesting thing is that people can have dual relationships. So my partner is a support system to me, but also there's a lot of challenges and at times some stress and pain that occurs with this relationship too. So kind of being aware that not every relationship is either or for our clients, and there's probably going to be a lot of very complex relationships and very nuanced relationships where maybe with some mixed emotions, or maybe with like some dual relationship patterns. And so I thought that was another interesting thing to note here, is that that it's not always going to be like either or. Some people are going to be a mixture of both. So moving over into traits and dynamics, this is where we get into like things that might be happening across multiple generations, and it starts with college education. Only me and my mom so far in my lineage have gone to college, and then my partner also has and have those degrees. Practicing Christian in my therapy appointments would be important for my clinician to know about, because Christianity has played such a huge role in my upbringing and in a lot of some significant amount of trauma and things that I would really want to be open about with my therapist. And so it was important to me to establish like people in my life who do really hold that Christian faith, and to mark that on my family genogram, just because I would want my clinician to know that those are like relationships that might be extra challenging to navigate, since I am someone who is not a practicing Christian any longer. Neurodivergency or a mental health diagnosis, I think this is the most predominant on my family genogram, which is really interesting to me. So my biological father, my sisters, myself, my baby daddy, my oldest children, and my son-in-law all have a diagnosis of either neurodivergency or a mental health diagnosis. Some other people may have them, but I'm not aware of them, such as my partner or my youngest daughter. So I didn't want to label without being complete, like having a diagnosis. So I thought that was just really interesting how prominent that is in my family. issues related to disapproval from family. These two are connected, so the practicing Christian and the issues related to disapproval are very intertwined. And so obviously I experience that sense of disapproval and some challenges in that, because I do not still hold the same faith as the faith that my family brought me up with. However, my sister does, and that and obviously my parents do, and so that creates like a little extra layer of interesting dynamics between us, to be able to like have these strong relationships and have them be my support system, but yet that Christianity being such a fundamental part of their belief system and not mine, and kind of navigating that in our relationship together, it just creates an extra layer of challenge. And we kind of, and we I think for the most part we work really well at it, but I would want my clinician to know about that. Teen and early pregnancy was also something I wanted to share on my genogram, just because it's also something that is so prominent. And so you can see in this like family line here, that it started with my mom, and then my sister, myself, and now my daughter all have teen or very young early pregnancies, and that just just noting that and noting how that can really contribute to just some extra challenges in life, like financial challenges, relationship challenges, extra stress, create a barrier maybe to like higher education, just kind of being aware of what that comes with. And then the final thing that I listed, because that also feels, I didn't want to put addiction, because I don't necessarily have a diagnosis in our family for addiction, but I know that substance use for coping is something that is pretty common, and something that I try to be really aware of. I marked it myself, my partner, and then my two oldest children, and that was just really interesting to note that in our core household, that is something that I know that we've used different substances like in the past as a way to cope, even if it's just like one glass of wine at the end of the day or one beer with a meal. I just know that I like putting that on there to be aware that that is in our household, and kind of highlighting how our children could be watching that and now seeing that as a coping skill, and kind of wanting to change that for our youngest daughter and even for the next generation. I don't have Justin's family on here because it would just become too much, but I believe if we put his on there, we would see some of the mental health diagnoses and substance use for coping and those things, and that contributing to those generational like patterns and coping skills as well. I think the new information that I discovered, let's see. I think this just brought up a lot for me emotionally. I think like having my dad on here, and that's really hard to see him on there but not have a strong relationship with him. Same thing with my son. Just like putting different people on here brought up different emotions and highs and lows, right? So like putting my grandson that we're anticipating on here was such a joy to see him added to this genogram. Ooh. I'm gonna collect myself. However, the paradox of seeing my son, and he's on here but not an everyday part of my life, that brought out the opposite emotion. And so I think what this really showed me is how sensitive I want to be with my clients, even while they're just writing down the names of people that are in their genogram, and maybe even drawing an X, right? Or drawing these double lines. Those actions might have very, very deep meanings. And I think creating a space where the client feels very, I mean, I know this word is overused, but feels safe and kind of held emotionally, to share these very, what can be raw, intense, beautiful / very painful, maybe even like relationships that are causing them, grief or a lot of everyday distress. I think just being aware that there needs to be such a level of sensitivity, and that to us this might just look like a family tree, right? But to them this could really be opening up a lot of things that we're not aware of, and letting them do it in their own way, letting them unpack things in the way that they want to, and at the pace that they want to, and just really using so much sensitivity and so much care, and I think really letting them self-direct the way that this looks, and what they want to put on here, and what they want to identify, and the way they want to identify certain relationships, right? And giving them that sense of control over potentially a lot of relationships that they don't feel a lot of control in, right? And giving them a sense of autonomy here. I just think that this could be I think that that's so important throughout this entire exercise with your clients. I think what surprised me was how much of a lot of these markers I have on myself, but on the other hand, obviously I got to choose them. So if someone else were drawing up this family genogram, they might choose completely different traits and dynamics to highlight. So these are just ones that are very prevalent to me. I'm very aware of them. So obviously, a lot of them are showing up in my life, and so they're going to be taking up a big space in my box. I think what this process was like was, I'm so glad I did it myself. I did not know the emotion that it would bring up for me. I'm so glad that it's going to give me so much awareness, such a greater level of awareness than what I would have had if I didn't do this, to how sensitive I need to be when mapping this all out with clients, and to how much I want them to be directing it instead of me choosing everything for them, or me saying like, me saying like, no, if you don't have a relationship with your son, then we need to actually like X him out, right? Like it just showed me how much more I want the client to direct this, and I want this to be theirs, and I want it to be a way for me to get to know them and all of these intricate relationships. And it really is like telling me a story about who they are, and how they've gotten to become who they are today. And so I think yeah, that's what I've learned from this. And I did forget, I have a triangle on here. This triangle represented, it was one of the best triangulation relationships I could think of, which was when the kids were a little bit younger. Their baby daddy would really try to triangulate them, and against me. And now I'm seeing that happen in my adult son's like older years, like that a lot of those ideas and thoughts have kind of taken root, and that's now that triangulation is really deeply affecting my relationship with my son, because he has kind of this altered reality or perception of me based on things that his dad has told him. And so this feels very old to me, because they're not still always, I don't ever really see the baby daddy anymore, and I'm just trying to have a relationship with my older kids. However, this triangle that happened many, many, many years ago, I'm now seeing a lot of the consequences of and experiencing that in my everyday life. And so that was very interesting to me to note as well. I've really enjoyed this project, even though at times it brought up a lot in me. I enjoyed it, and thank you for watching and listening.